Good afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners meeting for this Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. My name is Ty Mentor, Chair of the Board. In the boardroom, we have Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards and Commissioner Carolina Mejia, as well as our County Manager, Mira Chavez, Assistant County Manager, Robin Campbell, participating through our Zoom. Calling the meeting to order here at 2:05 p.m. and we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Mejia.
Of course, and I'm actually going to invite a special guest we have in the boardroom here today, Sheriff Snaza. Will you please lead us?
Thank you. Hold this right here.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. We would also like to start today with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the indigenous Salish peoples who have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial and who still inhabit the area today, specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing. With that, I would contemplate a motion regarding the proposed agenda for today's meeting.
Yes, sir. I would move to approve the agenda for Tuesday, October 5th, 2021.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Is there a motion regarding board meeting minutes from September 28th?
Yes, sir. I would move for approval of the board meeting minutes from September 28th, 2021.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Call for the vote on that.
Commissioner Mejia.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer.
Aye. Motion carries. Board meeting minutes approved from September 28th. Next is presentations. We have two this afternoon. The first is a proclamation for Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month. And I will, I guess, pass to County Manager to introduce it. I think we have some guests online to.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. For your consideration is a proclamation that will declare September 15th through October 15, 2021, Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month. We have members of the public who have joined us this afternoon. Didn't have the chance to connect with each one of them, so I will ask them to please raise your hand if you would like to provide some feedback related to this potential proclamation. Please raise your hand if you're here for the proclamation. Mr. Van Dalen, please go ahead.
I wasn't necessarily going to make a comment, but I will just say I'm just super excited that we have a new Carolina Mejia is a new county commissioner and beginning to represent the diversity of our community, and I just appreciate having all the folks who work and live in our community that are of Hispanic and Latino heritage contribute so much and really make our community stronger through its diversity. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else who would like to provide some perspective related to this proclamation?
Okay.
I don't see anybody.
Commissioners, I'll let commissioners, I guess, weigh in, and then we can go through the proclamation. Commissioner Mejia?
No, I'm just excited to do this and excited to just celebrate another month for Hispanic and Latinos here in our community and all they do and bring and exemplify in our community.
Commissioner Edwards, anything?
No, but I'm glad to do a proclamation as soon as you're ready, sir.
Okay. Just real quick, I guess, the a person is kind of a product of the experiences they've had and folks that they've connected to. And so I feel kind of a special connection on this one. I spent a good period of my younger years learning Spanish language, and I did summer homestays with families in Morelia, Mexico, and Mendoza, Argentina. And I studied abroad during one of the semesters of law school, which is very logistically tricky to work out, but I was hell-bent that I wanted to do it. So I studied in Santiago, Chile for one of my semesters of my second year law school at the Universidad de Chile Law School. And I've traveled in Peru and Nicaragua and Spain. So I know this area of the world better than anywhere else and connected with more people, and I'm grateful for the experiences of the families that I stayed with and got to kind of be part of the family for a little bit of time. And those are experiences I'll never forget. And I certainly appreciate that part of what they bring to our culture here. And as a native Southern Californian, it was a big part of my growing up as well. So I'm excited we're able to do this. And with that, let's go to the proclamation.
Yes, sir. Proclamation for Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month. Whereas National Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month celebrates the Hispanic and Latino community and highlights its countless achievements, and whereas many Latino Americans trace their roots to the cultures of the indigenous people of the Americas, to the Spanish explorers, or to those brought as slaves to the New World. And whereas the month of September 15th through October 15th is a time to honor the ways Hispanics and Latinos contribute to our common goals, celebrate their diverse cultures, and to work towards a stronger, more inclusive, and more prosperous society for all. And whereas this month's theme, Esperanza, and I'll look to my seatmate if I got that right.
You did.
Okay. A celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope invites us to reflect on Hispanics and Latino Americans' shared cultures, history, and sense of community. And whereas Hispanics and Latino Americans have enhanced and shaped our national character with centuries-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of their communities, while adding their own distinct and dynamic perspectives to the story of our country. And whereas Hispanic and Latino Americans represent a significant and fast-growing demographic of Thurston County, and we honor the invaluable ways they strengthen our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Thurston County Commissioners hereby proclaims September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month in Thurston County, and urge residents to join us in celebrating the great contributions of Hispanic and Latino Americans. Dated this 5th day of October 2015, or 2021, your Board of County Commissioners. Wow, that got in there. Oh, that's it. Congratulations.
All right, I think we do have some, even folks didn't speak up. I know we do have some guests here related to this proclamation. So thank you for attending, and hopefully there are more out there listening through the YouTube. Okay, thank you. With that, let's go to, we have a second proclamation this month, and it's for Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. For your consideration is to proclaim October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The month of October has been nationally designated as Domestic Violence Awareness Month across the nation. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It touches all communities regardless of age, race, disability, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And this is just rightfully so because there is a lot of effort at the county to address the domestic violence here in the county. So today I have in the room Sheriff Isnaza, and I believe he's here to be part of this proclamation. Sheriff, if you'd like to provide a couple words, you're more than welcome to do so.
First off, Ramiro, I really appreciate those kind words that you did say about how domestic violence does affect our community. It is also one of the top priority calls that we respond to, unfortunately, on a daily basis. And bringing domestic violence awareness to our community, to our citizens, and throughout our nation really means a lot to me, how much this county really involves itself into making or letting people know how important it is to be aware of what domestic violence is and how it affects not only our families, but our community. And I can tell you that the men and women in law enforcement, not only throughout Thurston County and the local police agencies, but throughout the state, take domestic violence very seriously and want to end it. And the only way we can end it is by making people more aware of proclamations such as this. So thank you very much for doing that. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we have representatives. I see Christy Peters from the prosecutor's office. They'd like to provide some words that relate to this proclamation. Christy.
And I have to apologize. I have terrible laryngitis. So I would absolutely love to turn this over to our domestic violence team leader, Jennifer Lord.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. As was previously said, domestic violence affects everyone in our community. Domestic violence awareness is a necessity in our community. Our county works very diligently to try to intervene in the cycle of violence from which domestic violence occurs. The prosecuting attorney's office is so committed to ensuring the safety of our community members and breaking this cycle of violence that we have an entire team of professionals who are dedicated to the prosecution of criminals who offend against those people who are most important in their lives. Our office has worked very diligently to try to ensure not only criminal accountability for criminal behavior, but also to ensure that we provide whatever resources we can to survivors of domestic violence. In working in our community and working with prosecution of domestic violence cases, I think it's important that people understand that strangulation is one of the most prevalent forms of domestic violence that occurs in the country, and specifically in Thurston County. I would have to say that over and above 65 to 70% of our cases involve a form of strangulation and or suffocation, and the prosecution of these cases is critical. This form of violence, this form of assault is so dangerous. It is an incredibly dangerous method by which to assault someone. It can result in long-term lasting health effects to the survivor of this type of attack. Furthermore, it can easily, and oftentimes too easily, result in the death of the person who has been strangled. There are long-lasting medical effects, and unfortunately, in the past, the severity of this type of crime has been left basically unacknowledged. And even survivors of this type of crime are unaware of the significance of this type of injury, and that death can occur even days after a strangulation has happened. Fortunately, in our community, we have just had the onset of our of our SANE nurse program is now authorized to provide free medical examinations to victims of domestic violence strangulation at no charge to those victims. This is an amazing gift to our community, and it's a wonderful, wonderful resource for our survivors of these types of crimes. it also allows for these practitioners who specialize in strangulation and the results of strangulation to be able to inform the survivors, as well as educate the practitioners in our community, such as prosecution, ER doctors, EMTs, fire and medics. This is a real, genuine gift to our community, for which we are very grateful. These cases are inherently difficult to prosecute, and it does offer additionally the opportunity to maybe have a better chance at allowing for there to be successful accountability for those people who perpetrate these crimes. I just wanted to really briefly talk about in 2020, as we all went through this pandemic together, survivors of domestic violence crime were essentially locked into their houses with people who were committing crimes against them, and they couldn't leave their houses. They didn't have the opportunity to leave their houses. And it's very important that we recognize that those crimes continued to happen in 2020. In 2020, our office, the felony domestic violence team, charged 351 domestic violence cases, and our misdemeanor team charged 311 domestic violence cases. And in 2021, to date, the felony team has charged 201 cases, and the misdemeanor team has charged 225 cases. You know, while we were all building the airplane while flying during 2020, trying to keep the criminal justice system afloat, trying to maintain safety for the members of our community who suffered domestic violence, and trying to ensure that there be some criminal accountability for those offenders, the professionals who are dedicated to this type of work, the advocates, the prosecutors, the staff at the prosecuting attorney's office, worked long hours, nights, weekends, and we continue to work those hours because the backlog of cases that has been generated through the pandemic remains this imposing mountain of humanity that we need to address. While we continue to have new cases come in daily, we have to prioritize our cases, and we have to prioritize those cases based upon lethality, based upon the arrest cases whereby people stand at the most risk, and the other cases that are not necessarily arrest cases sit and wait. This is not a productive way for any accountability to ever occur in any type of criminal case. But it's especially disappointing and sad when we're talking about cases that involve domestic violence, family violence, in which we know that we have survivors who are out there who we've not been able to afford the opportunity for justice yet. While we continue to try to battle the overwhelming numbers, and it is our goal to get to the backlog continues to build while we continue to have to address those matters that come in that are at the most serious levels. It's important that the community recognize how valuable our community is to our team and to our prosecutor's office, and that we will continue to work nights and weekends to ensure that we can get through this backlog. But it's not an easy task. And finally, I was hoping that we could end with something a little uplifting. I would ask Shay Turner to speak to you all about a collaboration that occurred with our partner, our community partner, Family Justice Center, in which we were able to really serve a survivor of crime and show what kind of a community we are in supporting victims of domestic violence. Thank you. Shay?
Hello, everyone. I was fortunate enough to partner with the Family Support Center and help one of our victims that had suffered a pretty serious assault. And her phone was also damaged during this incident, and we were able to very quickly get her a cell phone through our partner agency, who I am so very thankful for, that we're actually able to get her one the very next day. And that was very important for her because she still needed to be able to have that communication to reach out to other resources, as well as find another place to live. And so I'm very grateful for our collaboration that we have with the Family Support Center, and Jory, who's on here as well, for helping me make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to provide some thoughts related to this proclamation? All right, thank you. Shelley? Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Shelley Slaughter, and I'm the Director of Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. And I am also a domestic violence survivor. So this is a really important proclamation to me, both professionally and personally. And I want to thank the board today for proclaiming October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Intimate partner violence is a serious, preventable public health problem that impacts millions of Americans and thousands of our Thurston County residents each year, and has a disproportionate impact on women, BIPOC, LGBTQ, youth, and disabled members of our community. I unfortunately agree with Ms. Lord's statement that the COVID-19 pandemic has magnified and increased the prevalence of domestic violence in our community. And there are a lot of people out there that need our support and are very lucky to have the wonderful county agencies and community partners that are all working together to support survivors and victims in our community. I am evidence that domestic violence can happen to anyone, and I strongly encourage anyone that is currently experiencing an unhealthy or unsafe relationship, or is worried about a family, friend, or coworker, to seek help and support by calling one of our local agencies or hotlines here. And again, thank you so much for considering this, and thank you to everyone who is here today, and especially for the survivors that are here to share their stories and experiences, and all the advocates that help them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. I saw Jory Stein's hand pop up.
Hi, good afternoon. For those of you who haven't got to meet, I'm Jory Stein. I am the Thurston County Family Justice Center Program Manager, and work with Jennifer in the prosecutor's office and the sheriff's office and the clerk's office and many, many other wonderful partner agencies in our community that support survivors. To start with a little bit of good news, we did receive the news recently that the Obw funding that funds this fusion in Thurston County has been renewed through fall 2024. So we'll be able to continue that great work. And since our last renewal in 2018, just to share a few statistics, we've served over 1,000 survivors just on our side alone. And approximately 80% of those survivors score in the severe risk category in the Jackie Campbell Danger Assessment Tool. So like Jennifer is saying, these cases are getting more severe, and the higher risk ones that we have are what we need to prioritize and really move towards to prevent intimate partner homicides in our county. I hope one day we can sit up here and say in the last year we haven't had any. Not there yet, but I know one day we will be.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We've had a lot of good collaborative successes like Shay talked about. And there's been multiple instances where we've been able to go out and provide phones, clothing, safety planning, both with systems-based and community-based agencies. And no single agency is going to be able to stop domestic violence on their own. And it requires partnership in our community and our collaborative efforts to be able to do that. So we appreciate the commissioner's support, and we appreciate all the other agency support as well as we continue this work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I don't see any other hands. We can move to our proclamation. Unless commissioners had anything they wanted to add in.
Looks like I'm prepared to make a proclamation, sir, when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas the month of October has been nationally designated as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and domestic violence remains a pervasive issue across Thurston County, the United States, and the world. And whereas domestic violence does not discriminate, and touches all communities regardless of age, race, disability, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting individuals, household, and society as a whole. Whereas the need for safe housing continues to be rated as survivors' most urgent need, and whereas victim advocates in the Thurston County Prosecuting Attorney's Office provided advocacy services to over 860 victims of domestic violence so far this year. And whereas the Thurston County Sheriff's Office deputies responded to 1,340 domestic violence 911 calls so far this year. And whereas the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners supports the efforts to promote the safety of victims and others through an increased focus on countywide cooperative strategies and public awareness. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Thurston County Commissioners hereby proclaims October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Thurston County and encourages all residents to report domestic violence to the Family Support Center, or the Safe Place has a 24-hour hotline at 360-754-6300. And if the crime is in progress, call 911. And signed, your Board of County Commissioners, this 5th day of October, 2021. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Ad-lib there.
Thank you to everyone for being here. It really means a lot for us to have the information and the support. As you know, we present these proclamations. I think it means a lot more to the community to hear the information. So thank you for being here and supporting this proclamation. Okay, thank you. Opportunity for the public to address the board follows now on our agenda, and the board welcomes comments from the public at our Tuesday afternoon meetings. We have certain guidelines to ensure that comments are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that our meetings are live streamed. When you're called, please introduce yourself, including the area and the county in which you reside. Address the board, not audience or staff. Silence your cell phones. You have 4 minutes, and you may not donate that time or any portion of that time to another speaker. Board reserves the right to restrict a person's opportunity to speak for a good cause. No outbursts of any kind, comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. No comments that are inflammatory, lewd, offensive, discriminatory, hateful, or defamatory in nature. Please be respectful. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that may come before the board on appeal in a quasi-judicial form. Finally, all materials, written materials provided to the county may be considered public records subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of RCW. So with that, I've got 3 folks so far on the sign up. We will go through those 3 names. We will then go to anyone else in the boardroom who did not get to sign up, and then we'll go one by one through the Zoom. If you don't want to testify, just let us know. If you do, then you'll have your opportunity 4 minutes. First is John Pettit. On deck is Terry Ballard.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I have to take this off to get my air for my medical condition. So excuse me, but I don't have COVID. I just got tested. Today I'm going to talk to you about a couple different things, and I had some papers dropped off to each of you as commissioners. One of the particular things I was going to focus on is item number under 4A. The county is considering a lease of the atrium. Well, the first thing I guess I'm going to ask you is this, do you know even if it's a legal place to place county offices? This location was not within the City of Olympia boundaries as required by state law to be able to have public offices in. It has to be in the original City of Olympia. I know that Mr. Menzer is well aware of this already. So he should immediately know that since this doesn't qualify, that this particular item should be stricken from the agenda even. That's a major question. But have you had a legal opinion about that? I didn't see the name of the attorney that was listed on the lease agreement on the proctors here, and so I'm thinking maybe he wants to step up and make a legal opinion about that. Not a different one that you suddenly had show up. You need the one that's actually working on this project. Elizabeth is not the one. So where's the one that rendered you some legal opinions about this? Is it legal for the county to locate its facilities of government at that location? You know you couldn't do it on the west side in a certain spot before. Why would you think you can just ignore the law now? Okay, next question. Have you addressed and do you have a written legal opinion regarding the gifting of public funds? Improvements that are paid for with county that have a longer depreciation life than 7 years, the length of the proposed lease, is a gifting of funds. Do you have a legal opinion on that? Do you have a legal opinion about the thought that you are trying to contract through this lease, spending $7 million of county funds to improve a private property? Where's the bidding process? That's a requirement of law. Oh, maybe you guys don't have to follow the law. Every department has to follow the law, except maybe the commissioners. You can't be doing that. You cannot just move forward. How about, what if the property, since it doesn't qualify for a government office space based upon the parking, what if the property can't get a certificate of occupancy? Are you still going to be committed to a lease? You see, these are questions you should. My background, real estate broker. You are not entering into a casual resolution you can change next week. You're planning on entering into a contract, a legal binding contract that lasts for a long time and makes commitments for millions of dollars. Now, another question which I'm going to have real quick is, you already know that we already have an appeal of a previous commissioner decision that's going before the court this next month, which involves part of this particular action. Why would you be moving forward with something that the court may very likely rule and wipe out a previous action? Now, the only other thing I'm going to share with you is a little tiny thing about the budget. I sent in some documents about the budget. The figures I had, they weren't my figures that I made up. These were the figures from Robin Campbell, and yet she wants to assert that those numbers that she's proposing as the total income is correct. They're not. You shouldn't be doing anything until you get the truth. And if your county employees are not going to give you the truth, whether it's Ms. Campbell or Mr. Chavez, it's a violation of law for giving false information to you as public officials. They need to be prosecuted. I'm urging you, turn down, make it go away the atrium thing until you get all the facts. Because if you do it before, it'll just be another appeal, another process. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Terry Ballard. I'm a retired Master Sergeant of over 35 years. 29 of that was a active duty retirement in the U.S. Army. Not to lessen the domestic violence today, but how many applications were approved for veterans for the Veterans Fund this month? Do we know that? Do we know how many that was for quarter? Do we know the same of how many of those were approved? Do we know how the funds were used specifically for each one of those veterans? We have no clue. That's the bottom line. We have no clue. Going on to the Veterans Advisory Board. The Veterans Advisory Board has never been legal. You can't even follow your own code. I wrote a response to all the veteran organizations in Thurston County, all the nationally recognized veterans organizations in Thurston County, and I included my district commissioner. If you would like a copy, you best get with him because they're all online with it. In April, we had a meeting at the Thurston County Veterans Advisory Board. in the April meeting, we had a guy by the name of Sean Smith who should have been taken off the list maybe 3 years ago. Okay? He headed that board. But then all of a sudden, after this meeting, we changed that to a guy by the name of William Powell. And we had 8 members in April on the first one. We had 8 members in April on the second one. We had 8 members in August when the board didn't even meet. And then we had 2 out of 5 of the members in September who were the only ones that actually had a legitimacy, but none of the members since 2018 have been appointed by their nationally recognized veterans group. That's law. Excuse me, that's your law. Why are you violating the law? I'm just wondering, why aren't you looking after veterans? Okay, 2 of those belong to Legion, 2 of those, 1 belongs to the Legion Department, and 1 belongs to the Red Cross, and actually 1 belongs to the VFW and Legion. Being a member of those organizations, which I'm a member of 4, doesn't give you the right to represent those organizations. That's why it's written into your code. Moving on, I addressed this back in May 13th of 2020. I addressed it. You can find me in the Olympian paper way back when. Guess what? You haven't done anything. Oh, and here's whoever writes the notes, writes these notes. A couple weeks ago, I said, this is not an agenda. This is the April 13th agenda, okay, on the web that I copied off. For some reason, it got changed into a 3-page document. Wow, somebody's really trying to cover their tracks, aren't they? Let me remind you, false reporting is a gross misdemeanor in accordance with RCW 42.20.040. Why aren't you prosecuting these people that give you false information, give you false data, give you false everything so you can make an informed decision? You don't do that because you do not enforce the law that you were upholding for. Also, why is the Veterans Fund, the Mental Health Fund, and the Road Levy Fund, the Road Levy Fund, by the way, belongs to Thurston County. Why are these used as far as a calculation to your atrium building that's a general fund? I never knew a veteran fund was used in that calculation until Mr. Pettit brought it to my attention. And why did you divert funds out of the Veterans Fund last year or this year to compile money that you overspent? I am getting really fed up with you abusing veterans, abusing Thurston County residents, especially Thurston County unincorporated residents with monies that belong into the general fund. I'm tired of it. It needs to stop. It's illegal. You never have representation here. Never have legal representation here. He says it's okay, just like the Medic 1 was okay. And isn't that in going to court because it was illegal? And we spent a bunch of money for the vote and everything to make that happen? Thanks.
Christina Janis is next, and that's the end of my sign-up sheet.
Good afternoon. I guess I'm not that tall, right? Hi, Christina Janis. I'm here on behalf of Thurston County Realtors Association. I reside in the northwest portion of the county. A couple things I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Permits. We've had some great presentations on the new and upcoming permit system, and while that sounds really exciting, the last couple of weeks I've been talking to colleagues in my industry, both builders, developers, and brokers, and private homeowners or property owners. The concern still is with the backlog of existing permits. And I know in a couple of briefings that was discussed, but no real true answers. So I'm kind of hoping maybe in the next week or two at the next commissioner meeting that we could get an update on where those backlogged permits are sitting. Some are substantial. And so I was just curious how we're going to proceed. I know that was a comment, I think, in one of our presentations that you had with us. What are we doing with the backlog of permits while we're rolling out the new process? Because there is a timestamp element on that new process, which means we have to follow those and get those out the door. But what about what's sitting there? So With that, that's pretty much, I'd just love a follow-up in the next week or two on where we're at with the backlog. Secondly, yay for the draft EIS to come out on the HCP. So far, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm only about this much through the whole draft. So, but it does look promising. We're looking forward to the public comment period and know that my board members and I are reviewing that as we speak. And we'll probably ask for presentation on the county's behalf to our membership. And then thirdly, I noticed in today's agenda that we are moving the public comment period for the home fund. And once again, just want to express our interest to be part of that conversation. So please, please, please keep our association in mind when you have questions on facilitating that, what that looks like, maybe some insight on our end of the deal. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd ask if there's anyone else in the boardroom that wants to testify that didn't sign up.
I don't have anybody else in the boardroom. Let me go to the Zoom screen. I don't think I recognize anybody from the public, but if I miss somebody, please raise your hand. Introduce yourself. Where you reside in the county? You have 4 minutes. None, sir.
Okay, no comment through Zoom. Very good. That'll take us on to County Manager Update, item 2A and B.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to follow up some public testimony you received last week. One is related to the Black Lake. Citizen responded in terms of correspondence that he sent to some nearby property owners related to 3 streams that appears to be contributing to pollution in Black Lake. The board had a discussion, and I believe you will be discussing during the budget process how you can probably address, in a larger context, water quality. The next public testimony you received, it was related to the lake management districts, both Lawrence Lake and Lone Lake, related to the cost allocation method. You will have the opportunity to review that in more detail, discuss in more detail with Public Works when they present the overall budget. I think it's scheduled for next Monday. Also, you received public testimony related to the fairgrounds from Mr. Carman, and that is the associated with laying out some recycled asphalt on in the existing driveway. So we also received a notice of violation from the city of Lacey. So we have communicated with the city of Lacey to see how we're going to be resolving the violations notice. As well, we have communicated with Mr. Carman, stating that until we resolve the violation statements from the city of Lacey, we will not be providing a formal response. Next, I'd like to address also Mr. Terry Ballard related to the Veterans Fund comments that he made. Within his testimony, he continues to make the point that this fund is not for indigent veterans. And in fact, this fund is specifically allocated to help indigent veterans. And indigent veterans receiving an annual income after taxes of up to 150% or less of the current federally established poverty level, or receiving an annual income not exceeding a higher qualifying income established by the county legislative authority. The board took an affirmative action to raise and revise the poverty level to 200% in order to help additional indigent veterans. Also, we continue to hear that perhaps there has been a diversion of funds out of the Veterans Fund. That is not correct. We conducted an audit early in the year, which attests to the fact that no diversion out of the Veterans Fund has occurred. Also, he made a statement which is correct on the ending fund balance of the Veterans Fund. It is significant ending fund balance. He is absolutely correct. And the Veterans Advisory Board is looking as to ways and proposals to present to the board as to how we can start taking advantage of the larger ending fund balance. That's all I have. Any questions?
Commissioner Mejia, any questions on the county manager's report?
No, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
Not on those issues. I do have a question, but maybe I'll have to bring it up later, I guess.
Okay. So is it related to a later agenda item?
Yes.
Okay, let's just take it up then.
Okay.
So let's look at the consent agenda. We have 3 items. Is there any request from board members to pull an item from this consent agenda?
No,
And if
sir.
not, I'd be ready to hear a motion.
I would move to approve consent items A through C.
I'll second.
The motion has been moved and seconded, and I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye, the motion carries. Items 3A through 3C are approved. Bringing us to item 4A, which is the proposed lease for 3000 Pacific Avenue.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners. The need to find additional space here at the courthouse has been in the works for over a decade. So this is not new news in terms of what the need that we have here, which is a growing county. As a result, we are growing in terms of the services that we provide to our citizens in this space has been identified as a key need. So during the years of 2017, 2019, we embarked on a journey to see where a potential new courthouse could be located. The result of that process was the board selected at that time the downtown location for a new courthouse. Also, the board provided at that time passed a resolution to put a measure in April 2020 for the voters to vote whether they like to support financially the construction of a new courthouse. In a parallel process, even starting in 2019, but early in 2020, the Board of County Commissioners had a conversation during planning sessions as to what Plan B will be. What if this, at that time, what if this measure doesn't pass? We needed to look at a Plan B to address the growing needs in the space. And at that point, the board asked me to start looking for options as to what that Plan B will be. Fast forward to March 2020, the pandemic hit. At that point, the Board of County Commissioners decided to pull the ballot measure out of the April 2020 special election. So that vote never occurred. And in the majority of 2020, the county was busy in responding to the emergency and the pandemic. Until September 11, 2020, we had a planning session here in this room where the board really started looking as to what Plan B will be in the upcoming year in 2021. And again, direct me to start looking for options. We embark on this journey of looking what available lease options do we have. We look at Chandler Court here. It was at that time available close to 40,000 square feet. And the 3000 Pacific came to the market early in the year in 2021. We had conversations with the property owner at that time, and we looked at the options as to how we can probably take advantage of the lease facility to implement a plan. The plan that I provided to you in April, early April 2021, was to utilize the atrium, that's 3000 Pacific Avenue, to relocate offices. That would be the General Government Building office. That includes the Board of County Commissioners, the Assessor's Office, the Auditor's Office, the Treasurer's Office, the Community Plan and Economic Development, the Public Works Development Review, Public Health and Social Service, Environmental Health, Central Services Administration and Accounting, Board of Equalization, Information Technology, Geodata, and Human Resources. The result of that plan was then to start concentrating on the courthouse campus, where all those offices are currently located in Building 1, then with additional tenant improvements here at the current courthouse campus. Then in Building 1, the clerk's office will be moving to this building. Also pretrial services in the prosecuting attorney's office, which includes combining the criminal and civil divisions, which currently are located in 2 different locations. Building 2 will become the Superior Court building. Building 3, the District Court. And also in Building 4 will be Public Defense, Drug Court, and Resource Hub, And at that point, the plan that I presented to you, building 5 and 6 will be the sheriff's office. With that in mind, you asked me to continue to work on this particular option, the 3000 Pacific. And in May, we had a letter of intent provided to you to see if we can continue with this option. At that point, the board does not feel comfortable to have this letter of intent related to the 3000 Pacific until you get additional information as to this particular venture. So we started working with the property owner and start detailing as to how this particular space could suit the needs of this particular plan. The result of that was where we are today. Along the way, we had an indication what the actual lease cost will be, and also how much the tenant improvements will cost. This information has been provided to you, the board, for the last month and a half, and we have gone through a couple of iterations related to the financial forecast as to how this could be part of your financial forecast moving to the future. The financial forecast, the latest version, is September 27, 2021, which that was reviewed also with you yesterday, and that has not changed. So the proposal before you is for you to consider the lease of this, the 3000 Pacific, which includes a 7-year lease with options for extensions. I'd like to emphasize this is a temporary location because the long-term need is something that we need to be working into the future. Because our lease facility is not a permanent facility, is not a permanent location, and this is give us the time to address the immediate need to find additional space here at the courthouse campus, and also we'll give the board additional time to look at what the long-term permanent location of the new courthouse will be, if that is the case. And I'm open to any questions.
Commissioner Mejia,
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
This new objection that was brought forward by Mr. Pettit in reference to the original city limits of Olympia. He provided a map here as part of the packet of information that he brought in. And it's very obvious that in 1937, the city limits didn't go out there to where that building is located. And I distinctly remember having quite the discussions about kind of the uniqueness, I guess, of the county courthouse could not be located even in the urban growth area or the more recent annexations of Olympia. The way the law was written, it had to be in the original city limits when the city was incorporated. And I think that goes all the way back to the turn of the century. So my question to you, and maybe to Elizabeth, if she's here as legal counsel, are we, has something changed? Are we now able to have a temporary location, and is 7 years a temporary location? Does that make it legal? Does the law address that? So are we on solid ground on this issue?
So the only thing I can provide to you is my recollection of the conversation that occurred at that time related to this particular issue that you're raising. And at that point was actually relocating and vacating this courthouse campus. And that was the reason as to why we couldn't relocate entirely this campus outside of the initial boundary of the city limits. This is not the case. The courthouse campus will remain in here. This, where you're talking, is a temporary location, a lease facility. I am not in the position to give you a legal perspective on this. I'm just telling you how the conversation was at that time when this issue was brought up.
As we moved forward on this particular site, we took it as a legal question from 1988, an Attorney General opinion, when it came to putting, upgrading leased property. And apparently, in that 1988 opinion, our legal representative felt that we were okay. I guess if you're telling me that we don't know the answer to this question, I guess I'd address it to legal counsel. Are we on solid ground, Elizabeth, on this move? Is there a provision in the law that designates temporary is 1 year, 8 years? What is a temporary location? And are we 100% okay? Because I don't feel comfortable even voting on something that we're not sure is 100% okay. And that's my question, I guess, to council.
Go ahead, Elizabeth, if you.
Yeah,
have
good
anything to
afternoon.
add.
Good afternoon, commissioners. You're asking me a legal opinion, and I would be happy to look at that question of yours, but I would have to defer to providing any answer until we have an executive session, until I have all the information to review.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm satisfied with that answer, and then we can address that later on. But my next concern is, and maybe Elizabeth can give us a little direction on this, is it legal for a body like the Board of County Commissioners to vote on something that has been brought to our attention as illegal? And is it legal for us to make a vote on that, and then we find out, well, that was an oops. We shouldn't have voted on it, and we're guilty of X, or we just find out that it's not a valid location, so that negates everything. Are we in trouble or not in trouble? How does that fit into this equation? Elizabeth,
I suggest you get your, yes. Commissioner Edwards, I suggest you get your questions answered.
Before we move forward.
Yes.
Yes.
If you have any questions.
That makes perfect sense to me, that we wait, and I'll make a motion on that, but I guess there's other discussion maybe here that the chair looked like you had something to say, sir.
Yeah, I was going to make my proposal to address this was going to be to amend the proposed motion to say that the lease would be approved on the condition that we receive a legal opinion that it is legal for the county to locate its facilities of government at the proposed location. That way we can move forward with the legislative act. The condition is there, provided county manager receives that favorable opinion, it's done. If not, then we'll have to obviously address it. So would that proposed approach be okay, Elizabeth, or is that not a good approach for some reason?
I think you can certainly frame that motion that way, that you wouldn't take action until you had a legal opinion that provided you confidence that the action was legal.
Might I respond to that, sir?
Sure.
My concern is, why take a vote on something? It's going to make us look silly that we don't have that legal knowledge that's been brought forward by a citizen that has questioned quite a bit of issues. He's probably one of the best watchdog people in the county that keeps track of us. He's brought an issue to us under our intent to be as transparent as we can be and have open government as much as we can be. I would much prefer to remove this and see if, in fact, we can get a legal opinion that addresses that. I'd like to have a legal opinion that's more modern than 1988 when it comes to the whole gifting portion as well. So I am going to make a motion here shortly based on this map that's been provided by Mr. Pettit, that it's pretty obvious, and I think legal counsel is trying to be as cautious as she can be under this situation. I just don't think we ought to put caveats on it that maybe or maybe not, that we should be more sure about what we're doing than to vote on a maybe. I really believe that.
You're going to vote against this regardless how this question turns out. So it's a little bit disingenuous to say that you're really worried about the process. I will say that the whole point, the clarity about the west side, for example, I came into office and a couple of years of work had gone into it, consultants, lawyers, 15 locations got whittled down to 3, and I was presented a binder with the 3 final locations. And guess what? One of those was the west side of Olympia. I didn't favor that location for reasons completely unrelated to the law about whether it could be sited there. That just was an interesting thing that I heard after the fact. But nobody, we went through that very contentious debate and vote between those 3 locations, and at no point was it ever said by legal, you, Commissioner Hutchings, or anyone else, that we couldn't have selected the west side. I heard that. I think I heard that from the county manager, that there had been a previous debate about that. It wasn't I didn't really care because it wasn't my preferred location for a whole ton of reasons that I made very clear in meetings back then. So I didn't really worry about it. So to me, I don't know the answer. I agree that it's an important question and we want to have the answer, but I think it's very, if there's not a legal problem, then I'm ready to move forward. If there is a legal problem, then we're not going to authorize the county manager to sign the lease. I appreciate bringing this forward because I was thinking about the west side boundaries and the annexations over there. I really don't know anything about the history of the east side boundaries of Olympia and what was annexed when. So definitely something we want to clear up. But the question, I guess, is just whether or not we have to have, we've had so many debates about this over the last, I just want to, if the only issue is that, then we can decide contingent on that resolution of that issue and we move forward. We've got a lot of considerations. We've got a lot of other business. We've got, we've got a property that's on the market. That's the only real viable property to meet the needs that who knows what'll happen. And so that's just my proposed approach for all of those reasons. We kick it another week, we kick it another week, I guess. But that's I think there is an alternative is all I'm saying. Commissioner Mejia.
Yes. I'm in agreement with you, Commissioner Menser, and I've asked around. I've gone to other realtors and other experts in the area and asked them about this property and asked them about what else is available out there as well. And try to get their guidance. And I've gone to several other buildings here in the area and asked if they would have the square footage to lease to us, or if there was space available, or if it was going to be available anytime soon. And I kept hearing back the same answer. It's like, no, we have nothing available, or no, we're not going to have anything available anytime soon, and we just leased this, so we're set. And so it just kept coming back to this. And so at this time, I'm ready to move forward, contingent on the response we get from the legal opinion.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve the 7-year lease. I'm going to make a motion to amend the proposed motion and add into the motion that we move to approve a 7-year lease on the condition that we receive an opinion from legal counsel that it is legal for the county to locate its facilities of government, Building 1, that are currently in Building 1 at the proposed location. Is there a second to that motion to amend the proposed motion?
I'll second.
Okay, is there further discussion on my proposed amendment?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner Edwards.
I just think that it's pretty sad that we have come this far and prepared to move forward. Yes, I was not in favor of going down to the atrium. I've made my position fairly clear. But I think it's it's pretty sad that we don't have information from staff on such a technical issue that is of monumental importance. And I'm going to refer to this little map that Mr. Pettit brought in. It's very obvious it's outside of the city limits that were in place in 1937. Well, the city was incorporated. It's probably an expansion from when it was incorporated at the turn of the century. And I just don't think it makes sense for us as a body to move forward on something that we don't know anything about. I don't see any reason to delay it. I mean, I'm going to vote against that proposal because I think we're just dead wrong. And I don't think we should even be voting on something that we know is probably illegal. We don't know that, I guess. I don't know that. Elizabeth hasn't said that it is. Our county manager hasn't said that it is. But we were told several years ago when we were having this debate that you couldn't have your your courthouse location of county government, your county seat of government could not be located outside the original boundaries. It's a dumb law. The legislature ought to change it. We should be able to place it into the urban growth area, but we can't. The law's never been changed, and I just don't think we should move forward on a vote and then find out, well, we were voting on something that was illegal. I'm sorry, I just think it's a mistake, and so I can't support the change even to the original motion, so.
Okay, well, that's addressing your concern is why I made the amendment. So I'm going to call for the vote on the amendment.
Amy, call the vote.
Commissioner Mejia? Aye. Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye, the motion carries. So the motion has been amended to approve the lease with the additional language. And I'm going to ask if there's then a motion as amended that will be made.
Yes. I'm trying to get the full language of the amendment. 1 second.
I believe, let me see if I paraphrase what you stated, Commissioner. Move to approve a 7-year lease on the condition of legal opinion, the condition of legal counsel determine that this location is a legal location to move.
Yeah, I tracked the language right out of actually Mr. Pettit's handout, that it's legal for the county to locate its facilities of government at the proposed location.
Okay, I'll do a motion. I would move to approve a 7-year lease on the condition of legal counsel. If it's legal for the county to locate its facilities of government at that location with 2 5-year extension options with MGR development for the building located at 3000 Pacific Avenue, Southeast, Lacey, Washington, 98501, with a 7-year escalation annual lease cost from $1,546,055 to $1,811,093 plus triple net, also known as triple net cost or NNN, and tenant improvements not to exceed $10 million, and authorize the assistant county manager to sign the lease documents and any amendments that do not exceed 10% of the terms and cost of the original lease.
I'll second that. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion on this motion as amended?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to revert back a little bit to the information that Mr. Pettit brought in. And that has to do with the map as presented by Mr. Pettit. I guess that can be part of the record, that it isn't the best map in the world, I can say that, but it does show the boundaries. So that is one issue. And then my other points of discussion, Mr. Pettit raised the issue about, do we have a legal opinion on gifting of public funds if the improvements we make stay there at the building and we don't amortize them out over a designated period of time. So that's one question. And I might mention that certain things, I mean, I don't know about the bidding process, how this is all going to take place, because the owner of the building, he automatically gets a free check, it sounds like, to make these upgrades. I don't know how we bid those. So that's an issue. The property, whether or not we can get an occupancy on a 90,000 square foot government office because of the parking issue. I mean, so that's a big part of it. And I'll throw an additional concern on there. Are we going to be able to sublease adequately should we not need the space to make up the difference? And then in the motion, it sounds like we're leasing this for 17 years, or the potential of 17 years, by having 2 5-year extensions in there. Is that a temporary location or a temporary facility? If that was to move forward with those type of caveats in a lease. So it looks like our intent right off the bat is to be able to at least extend it out 17 years. That just doesn't sound like a temporary location. And I'm afraid that we're going to end up voting on something completely illegal. And I guess I won't have to worry about it because I'm not going to vote for it. But so that's going to do for my discussion at this point in time. I mean, we've had plenty of discussion on this topic, and I'm sure a lot of it will be brought into the public record as time goes on. So thank you, sir. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mejia, anything?
No, sir.
No, okay. I guess I'll just say that, you know, we're simultaneously, we've got to solve 2 separate problems with limited dollars, assuming we're not going to go asking for the voters to approve any sort of tax increase. We've got to solve a space problem, and we've got to solve the problem of a set of buildings that are outlived their life and need tens and tens of millions of dollars of upgrades. And we can't just spend the money and only solve one of those problems, because we'll be left with the other problem and no resources in order to do it. So it has to be a 2-step process. If it turns out that the condition's not met and we cannot locate there, then I think I've said this at recent meetings, and I won't be authorizing tens and tens of millions of dollars to dump into these aging buildings when there's no provision for how we're going to even accomplish that and keep business running, or manage the second problem, which is the woefully inadequate space that we have to work with. So for me to feel comfortable about this as an expenditure of taxpayer resources, it has to be solving both problems. And so this is the only viable option that we have in the short and medium term. So we'll do our best to make it work, make it legal, make it the most efficient for taxpayers, address the needs of this complex, keep it viable as long as we can, and give our employees adequate space for the different, the growing needs that we have there. So hopefully this works out. If not, then we'll be back to the drawing board. But I can tell you, I will not be voting in favor of bonds for $30, $40, $50 million worth of upgrades to this complex without a simultaneous plan to address the county space needs, because we've only got one set of dollars to address 2 sets of needs.
Sure.
So with that, I will call for the vote on.
Sir, can I have an additional? Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Additional comment, please.
Sure.
You've heard me talk numerous times over the years that it is so important to obtain the trust of the public and have them feel that we are doing the right thing. I just think we're taking a shot in the dark here, and none of us know if we're legal or not. You heard what counsel said. Elizabeth said, well, we should find out. That was basically what she said. Then, sir, you made your suggestion of amending, and that's fine. But in reality, what it shows the public is we don't really know what we're doing. Even if we end up being right, we did it on a guess, on a 50-50 guess, you might say, that we could be waiting a week or two or whatever and get it right before we vote on it. Because I just think this sends the wrong message to the citizens in Thurston County that we're willing to just take a crapshoot and go for it without knowing, especially when we were told we could not do it a few years back. I don't see what's changed. We're outside of the original city limits, and I think we're going to have egg on our face when it's all done here, sir. And so, granted, nobody
had egg on their face when they handed me a binder with, a couple years worth of work and all the locations vetted, and the west side the west side location went to the full end run finish line of the process, the final vote. So, I get what you're saying, but that's why building this condition is important. Waiting a week and having the same debate that we've had at least a dozen times over again next week with the answer, I don't really think accomplishes anything. But that's just my two different spins on the same
okay,
question.
I mean, you did interrupt me, sir.
Okay,
May I proceed?
Sure.
Okay. The issue about whether or not we can gift public funds, whether we can bid, those are issues that we might debate on next week if we were to find out that maybe we're legal. I don't know what's changed, but maybe we're legal. Then we could ask these other questions and see if there is something here that, maybe we can try to adjust it and get it right. But I don't think the public is going to appreciate what we're doing. And when's the public going to get to know? There might not even be an article about this in the paper, and that's the way the public gets to know things. I think we're making a mistake, and I guess I can't say that enough, but okay, go for it. I'm ready.
Mr. Pettit will have a new set of objections every single week, just like he did with the courthouse. Every single week for a year or however long it was, there was a new set of things that we were doing illegal, improper, et cetera. And it's been the same with the atrium. So it's not going to change next week, and it's not going to change the week after that. With that, I'm going to call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia? Aye. Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye. The amended motion carries. Let's move to item 4B.
So before you move on, Commissioner, based on the mandate, I will work with Elizabeth to look into this question, and I will bring this back to you in an executive session.
Thank you, sir. Item 4B is to reschedule a public hearing regarding a countywide home fund.
Thank you, Commissioners. House Bill 1590, which passed in 2019, allows the legislative authority to take councilmatic action to raise 0.1% sales tax to address homelessness needs in that local jurisdiction. You had a brief conversation. You have many conversations related to this particular item. What the board decided is to hold a public hearing that was scheduled for October 19th at 3 p.m. in this room, for you to hear the perspective from the community, whether this is something the board may consider. You also wanted to hear from the local jurisdictions, the cities, particularly the cities of Lacey and Tumwater, whether this may be something they may be supportive. This particular option does not include the City of Olympia, because the City of Olympia has already a home fund, so that will not be part of this public testimony. During this time, while this has been for the public review and testimony, it has been a little bit of conversations myself with some of the county managers on the cities, Lacey and Tumwater, that perhaps the timing may not be there for them to do additional conversations to address the letter that you sent to them related to this particular action. So my request for your consideration is to reschedule the public hearing for the home fund to November 23rd, 2021 at 3 in the afternoon or soon thereafter. The matter may be heard here at Building 1, Room 280 of the courthouse campus.
Questions on this item for the county manager?
No, my only question might be to the clerk, but maybe the county manager would know the answer to this. We voted on this about a month ago, did we?
Thereabouts, yeah.
And what was the vote? You recall that?
It was unanimous.
And that was on setting the public hearing.
That was on setting the public hearing. And I was, during that conversation, you may recall that, let me go back. Can you check if it was we'll confirm if it was a unanimous or 2-1. Sorry, I need to check that to make sure that I address your question correctly. I believe the conversation at that point was whether this was an action they will be taken after the fact. My response to your concern was I was not prepared to bring an ordinance for the board taking action. The direction that I received from the board is just for the board to hear public testimony related to a potential action. The potential action needed to be discussed with the board, whether this action goes to the voters or the action could be councilmatic. But that conversation I believe needs to occur after the public hearing is in.
I'm confused in that because I do remember the conversation.
The vote was 2-1.
So,
Commissioner Edwards voted nay.
I was afraid of.
Thank you.
So I'm going to, for this motion, I'm going to defer to my seatmate.
So you remain consistent.
Yes, so I can remain consistent. Okay.
Okay, are we ready for a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I would move to reschedule a public hearing for Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021 for 3 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard at Thurston County Courthouse, Building 1, Room 280, to receive public comments regarding a proposed 0.1% sales tax increase for all Thurston County residents except for the City of Olympia residents, as allowed under House Bill 1590 to support affordable housing activities.
Second that. It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye. Motion carries, and the public hearing will be November 23rd, 2021 at 3 p.m. Item 5A is Public Health and Social Services request for proposals for diversity, equity, inclusion consultant.
Good afternoon, Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services, here to present this proposal to you. Request for proposal for a diversity, equity, and inclusivity consultant for the homeless crisis response system. Excuse me. In 2019, the Department of Commerce had issued guidance on how each homeless crisis response system should rewrite their 5-year plan. And each in that guidance, there were 5 outcomes that the Department of Commerce, State Department of Commerce, wanted each county to address. One of which was addressing racial disparity within the homeless crisis response system. In drafting that plan, we did come up with strategies for initial steps in addressing racial disparity. But following the activities of summer 2020 and moving forward with our commitment in the homeless crisis response system to make good on all efforts that we can come together with to address disparity within the homeless crisis response system, this year in 2021, during our countywide request for proposals, the Regional Housing Council voted to set aside $150,000 for the hiring of a diversity, equity, and inclusivity consultant for the homeless crisis response system specifically. That recommendation came before you, the Board of County Commissioners, and was approved. And so the RFP that we have before you today is that RFP that is calling for an agency or an individual that meets the qualifications to apply to become our consultant for the next year. So that is the proposal before you, and we're hoping for an approval for this proposal to be posted today. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions for Keely?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner Edwards.
And this, I don't know if it'd be for Keely or if it would be for the county manager. The budget that this is going to come out of, should we get a proper application and move forward? What fund will be paying for this as we move forward?
Yes, that would be the 2163 funds, which are local document recording fees that are specifically for homeless crisis response activities.
Right. These are dedicated funds, is my understanding. Is that right?
Yes.
And all the jurisdictions are pulling
Yes.
those.
It's a joint effort by all the jurisdictions to participate in this program having to do with helping our homeless situation. Is that a proper analysis?
That is correct.
Good enough. Thank you. That was my only question.
Anything else, Commissioner Mejia?
No, sir.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I would move to approve. And authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to issue a request for proposals for the Office of Housing and Homeless Prevention to solicit applications for a diversity, equity, inclusion consultant for the homeless crisis response system. And I, having made that motion, before I get a second, I'm going to look to the county manager. Is that okay if I add?
You're correct. That was discussed this morning. There was a missing word.
Yeah.
And the way you read it, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Keely. Item 5B is a rent assistance contract amendment with Washington State Department of Commerce. Tom Webster, Social Services Program Specialist, with us to present.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tom Webster with Public Health and Social Services. So we're here to request authorization to sign a contract with the Department of Commerce for an additional round of rent assistance funding that is coming through the state. So earlier this year in March, we signed a contract, or you authorized signature of a contract for just over $10 million for emergency rent and utility assistance program under what we're referring to it as the TREP 1 program. Under the American Rescue Plan Act, the Commerce has received additional funding under what is being called the TREP 2 program. And so this is a contract with the Department of Commerce to accept $12,009,391 in funds to continue to support rent and utility assistance throughout Thurston County. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Tom? Commissioner Mejia?
No, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. I just comment to the public that we've had numerous discussions on this and in other work sessions, if anybody's interested. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, sir. I would move to approve the interagency agreement amendment between Thurston County and the Washington State Department of Commerce for the Treasury Rent Assistance Program, adding $12,009,391 in funds to the existing agreement, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment and any amendments that do not change the amount by more than 10%.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye, so motion carries unanimously. We'll go to 5C, rent assistance contracts for Community Action Council and Community Youth Services. Right back to you, Tom.
Thank you. So continuing on, so with the contract you just approved signing, what we would like to do is issue contracts using those funds to two agencies that have been implementing our rent assistance programs. That is Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston County, and Community Youth Services. So we're requesting approval to sign contracts for $9,959,391 with CAC and for $2 million with Community Youth Services. Under the contract with the Department of Commerce, we're required to allocate 10% of the funds to young adults, those 18 to 24 years old. And so that's why CYS is our provider that serves that population. The 10% is a minimum threshold. So based on conversations with CYS, they've indicated they'll be able to allocate or anticipate allocating around $2 million is their need. So that's the determination of why that amount for CYS. We meet regularly with CAC and CYS, and both agencies are on board with these allocations. These funds will begin kind of right away. We have until 2025 to spend these funds, although I expect these funds will be spent much sooner than that. And this is under the TRAP 2 program that we just talked about. But I'm happy to take any other questions you have.
I do have one question, sir, when the time comes.
Go ahead, sir.
Tom, we discussed this at length, this morning and many other times. But this fund, the money coming through here can only be spent in these designated areas. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is a specific program. It must go to rent and utility assistance for folks who are renting housing. So it is not for businesses rent or utilities, and it's not for homeowners. It is specifically for renters of housing. And it is a very specific dedicated fund source for those eligible activities.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anything further from Commissioner Mejia?
No, sir.
Okay, is there a motion?
I would move to approve contracts with Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties for $9,959,391 and Community Youth Services for $2 million to continue rent and utility assistance programs in Thurston County funded through the Washington State Department of Commerce with U.S. Department of Treasury Emergency Rent Assistance Program funding, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the contracts and any amendments that do not change the amount or duration by more than 10%.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye, motion carries. Brings us to the next public health item, 5D, amendment for renewed community prevention and wellness initiative contract. Chris Hawkins, program manager, is here to present.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Chris Hawkins here, Thurston County Public Health and Social Services program manager on education and prevention. And I'm pleased to be with you today to request your approval on a renewed funding agreement for our department to provide fiscal agency support for 2 community coalitions here in Thurston County. This Community Prevention and Wellness Initiative program provides this significant support to these 2 communities here in Thurston County, the Bucota-Tenino area, Tenino School District, and Tumwater in Tumwater School District to carry out prevention and health promotion efforts in relation to youth substance use. And I say prevention and health promotion because this is really aimed at not just reducing risks, which are very familiar to us, like the availability and access that young people have to substances that can harm them, but also protective factors is another aspect of this, such as a young person's connection to a caring adult or to their school, or the functioning of their family. And so it's a comprehensive approach that addresses both the risks and the protective factors through this community-based approach. And we each year do an annual work plan with a community coalition in each of these communities. And that allows us to put together an effective strategic way to address those risks and protective factors. Folks in the community can find out more about these 2 coalitions by going to the Public Health and Social Services website and looking for youth substance use prevention, or they can go directly to bthat.org, bthat.org, or tumwaterhopes.org to visit those community coalitions websites and get connected to these efforts. So we are requesting your approval of this new biennium's funding, $520,000 that is split between those two communities, and that will allow us to carry out this continued effort as we address these important youth substance use issues in our county.
Questions for Chris? Commissioner Mejia.
No questions. This has been
Commissioner
an
Edwards.
issue that we've discussed.
Yes, as Commissioner Mejia said, we've been over this several times. There's one thing that I guess I'm not sure of. Maybe you know, Chris. How many years have we got? We're doing a renewal here. How many years have we been doing this with this group?
Yeah, the Bucota Tenino Healthy Action Team has been around for a number of years, and we became the fiscal agent in 2018 for that coalition, taking that on from Together, which had been the previous fiscal agent. And for Tumwater Hopes, that coalition just got started under our fiscal agency. And so that was in 2019 that coalition launched. So they've been around for a few years now and have been making a nice difference in those communities. And I should add that we will be back to you to request your approval on at least one subcontract for the Tumwater Hopes Coalition, which funds mentoring services in that community, and work this year on a youth coalition, starting of a youth coalition there.
Okay, but it's safe to say that we've been doing this for a number of years, and we're just continuing another good program for our youth, right?
Yes, indeed.
You've probably heard me say, young people are 30% of our population, but they are 100% of our future, so we should get it right, so I can't hardly object to this.
I can't disagree with that at all.
Okay.
Right.
All right, ready for a motion, sir?
I would move to approve the Washington State Healthcare Authority Division of Behavioral Health and Recovery Community Prevention and Wellness Initiative Agreement Amendment Number 2 for 2021 to 2023. And that's K3944-2 to carry out fiscal agent and coalition coordination services for Bucota, Tenino, and Tumwater area school communities for a total maximum amount of $520,000 for the duration of July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023, and authorize the Public Health and Social Services Department Director to sign the agreement and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. And any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Call for that vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
We'll go to division, item 5E, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Contract. Annalisa Cole, Social Services Program Specialist, here to present this item. Good afternoon, Annalisa.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. So yes, as you mentioned, I am here to request approval of the Washington State Division of Social and Health Services, or DVR contract that we have in place. This contract, which is currently agreement number 2163-31995, renews an ongoing agreement between Thurston County and DVR to support high school transition students ages 18 to 21. This program from the period of October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2023. This contract for the last 15 years has supported high school transition students with developmental disabilities in achieving employment goals and obtaining community employment with supported assistance. And this is a critical program for our students that helps them build soft skills, as well as, again, transitioning successfully from school into the workplace. This as I mentioned, has been in effect for about 15 years at this point in time. We've seen a lot of success on this program, and we have a lot more students entering this year. I believe this year we are up to about 20 students that we're supporting, whereas it's been typically about 15 in the past, and we're hoping to continue connecting with more students. So this request would, again, just allow our division director, Shelley Slaughter, to be able to sign this amendment, which again is from October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2023, and to also sign any additional amendments that do not change or alter this in any way that do not exceed 10%. As we discussed this morning, this is a $0 contract, and it is based entirely on performance outcomes, which can range from $8,670 to $9,400 per student that is successfully placed in a job. Do you have any questions, commissioners?
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir. We've covered this one many times as well, and a great program. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, I do not either, so I'm ready for a motion.
I would move to approve the Washington State Department of Social and Health Services Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Program contract to place high school graduates with developmental disabilities into jobs for the period of October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2023, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign this agreement and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, two more public health items. This one is 5F, interlocal agreement with Department of Children, Youth, and Families. Gretchen Toller is here from Public Health and Social Services.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Gretchen Toller. I'm the Maternal Child Health Nurse Family Partnership Manager with Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. I am seeking approval of the renewal of our interlocal agreement number 221173 with the Washington State Department of Children, Youth, and Families for the amount of $937,602.55 for the period of July 1st, 2021 through July 31st of 2022. This funds community health nurses to serve families through the Nurse Family Partnership Program in Thurston, Mason, and Lewis counties, and allows us to continue serving 35 families in Mason County, 51 families in Thurston County, and 38 families in Lewis County for a total of 125 families. For those who are not familiar with Nurse Family Partnership, it is a program with nurses that works with mothers to provide support, resources, and coaching to help families have the best outcomes possible.
Questions for Gretchen? Commissioner Mejia?
No questions. This is a great program.
Commissioner Edwards?
I would just ask Gretchen if she knows how many years we've been doing this. And it can be very general.
So we had started Nurse Family Partnership in 2004. And I actually was the first nurse trained in it. So it's been, 17 years. And we've had our regional partnership now since 2018. Our regional partnership is with Lewis and Mason counties.
Okay, just another good program with kids. Trying to make them successful, I guess, right?
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, sir. I would move to approve interlocal agreement number 22-1173, the Washington State Department of Children, Youth, and Families for the amount of $937,602.55 for July 1st, 2021 through July 31st, 2022, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the agreement and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion from the board?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye, motion carries. And our final substantive business item is, thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you.
5G, interagency agreement for well construction delegation. Art Starry from Environmental Health Division Director is going to present this item.
Good afternoon. As Commissioner Menser indicated, I'm Art Starry. I'm the Environmental Health Division Director. I'm filling in for Eric Iverson, who's busy in our lab running a bunch of water samples this afternoon. And so what this agreement does is it's an agreement between our department and the Department of Ecology, and it allows us to basically inspect new wells and wells that are being decommissioned or taken out of the ground to make sure that our water supplies, our aquifers are being well protected. This agreement's been in place since 1996 in one fashion or another. And what it does is it allows, what happens is the Department of Ecology gives us 50% of the revenue that they receive from start cards or well start permits. And that allows us to go and do these inspections to make sure that the new wells are constructed adequately and that, again, the wells that are being decommissioned or removed are being taken care of properly too. So this is something that works very well, that allows ecology to kind of expand their resources and allows us to have a better feel for the types of activities that are taking place within the county. And so we would ask you to allow Shelley, our director, to sign this agreement and any minor amendments that might take place for the next 5 years. This agreement basically is backdated to July 1st of 2021 and would continue through June 30th of 2026. It generates about $20,000 a year for us to do the work.
Questions for Art? Commissioner Mejia?
No, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
It's pass-through money, and about how long have we been doing this, Art?
We've been doing this since 1996. It was a bill that Senator Frazier signed long ago, and I actually had the opportunity to work on it way back when.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, ready for a motion.
I would move to approve interagency agreement number C 22000021 with the Washington State Department of Ecology for well construction delegation for the term of July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2026, and authorize the Public Health and Social Services Director to sign the agreement and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Art.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, 6A is under the county manager section. Commissioners can report on board work sessions, committee meetings, or any community events. Commissioner Mejia, you're up.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. I've been meeting with several constituents and as well as monthly check-ins with department heads and elected officials. I had my JASCOM meeting yesterday, and many of you know him. Doug Howie is retiring, and he's been in JASCOM for a very long time representing the Humane Society. So he is retiring, so he will no longer be a part of JASCOM. So that's going to be a hard position to fill. A lot of knowledge that is leaving us, institutional knowledge that is leaving us. I also attended the Olympia Community Solar Celebration this weekend, and I completely missed Commissioner Menser. Apparently we were both there, but I did not see him. And on Friday, I attended the Eagle View pictometry presentation put on by the assessor and showing us what that new technology does and how it just will help all the departments here in Thurston County as well as make sure that we're being more efficient. So thank you so much to the assessor for allowing me to sit in for that presentation. I also did coffee with the commissioner with Treasurer Jeff Ganman, where we talked about property taxes. Thank you to him for sitting with me during that time. Went to the Mullen Road ribbon cutting, and I also attended the Boys and Girls Club event that night. And other than that, another thing I have to report on is the Agritourism Advisory Committee. I attended that with them their meeting last week where they're talking about getting signage for the Bountiful Byway and just exciting new projects that they have. And I believe they'll be coming to present to the commission, if not later this year, sometime earlier next year, just to kind of amend their bylaws and update us on what they've been working on, and they've been working very hard. So that is all I have to report.
Commissioner Edwards. Thank you, Commissioner Mejia.
No committee reports of substance, that anybody here would be, they're all pretty routine. Everything was routine. My constituent issues mainly consisted of calls and emails about our COVID situation and the vaccine mandate. And I just think I might take this opportunity to offer our condolences to Lewis County Commissioner Gary Stamper's family for his recent passing due to the COVID-19 issue. And he was an individual that he got vaccinated early on, and it didn't work out very well with him. He was in that demographic of older citizens and was not able to overcome this issue. But without trying to scare anybody, most people that do come down with this that have been vaccinated have a better outcome. But unfortunately, he did not. And I just wanted to send our condolences to Gary Stamper's family. That's it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Yeah, it was a busy week, and I crossed paths, I guess, with Commissioner Mejia a couple times. The Mullen Road ribbon cutting, we both got to give some remarks on that project, which enhanced school safety and road improvement and a very important corridor in Lacey. Partnered with the city of Lacey and the State Transportation Improvement Board. Was at the community solar event, and I wanted to say a little more about that. It was kind of a ribbon cutting of sorts for the Hummingbird project, I believe. They've got a couple going. The one that's on the top of the Hands-on Children's Museum. And it's been very successful, and it'd be interesting to see if any county buildings could be participate in something like that to enhance that those types of community solar projects. Meeting with members of the Agricultural Advisory Committee, a lot of issues coming down the pike there. WASAC Legislative Steering Committee meeting all Friday afternoon as the State County Association tries to develop its legislative priorities for this coming legislative session. Last Wednesday, I took a tour of the Streamflow Restoration Act projects. This was organized by the League of Women Voters, but it relates specifically to the Chehalis Basin. And as folks may or may not know, about 2/3 of my district lies within the Chehalis watershed. And these projects were focused on things that are going on in order to try to mitigate for permit exempt wells, meet the requirements of the state law, Streamflow Restoration Act, and the ecology approved Streamflow watershed plan. So we were looking at different projects up in Cozy Valley. Over one of the county projects was featured, the Albany stormwater improvement, which is located in downtown Rochester. And I got to meet a couple of new public works stormwater engineers out there. That was great. And as well as our hydrologist, Kevin Hansen, who did a great job presenting the work that Thurston County's done. And that's about the long and short of it for this past week. So with that, we'll go to County Manager.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me walk you through your combined schedule for this upcoming week, where at least 2 commissioners will be in attendance. You may have individual appointments on your individual calendars. Those will not be part of my report. Starting tomorrow, Wednesday, October 6th, you will continue to have budget presentations in the morning from 1 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. You will break from lunch, and you will come back at 1:30 to 4:15 to continue budget presentations from offices and departments. Thursday, October 7th, you have a budget presentation from 10 to 10:45. And then from 11 to 1 p.m., you have been invited to attend the Thurston Economic Development Council 13th Annual Real Estate Forum. And that is going to be located at the Hotel RL here nearby. And then you'll come back tomorrow on Thursday, October 7th, to continue budget presentations from 1:30 p.m. to 4:15. Friday, October 8th, from 9 to 11:45, you'll continue to have budget presentations. You will break for lunch, and then at 1:30 to 4:15, you have additional budget presentations. Moving on to Monday, October 11th, budget presentations from 1 a.m. to 1:30 and from 1:30 to 4:15 in the afternoon. On Tuesday, October 12th, you'll convene here in this room. At 9 in the morning, you have your regular agenda setting. And in the afternoon, you have your regular Board of County Commissioners meeting, followed by the Board of Health meeting at 3:30. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
For the good of the order, Commissioner Mejia or Commissioner Edwards, anything?
No, I would just comment to the public, come to our meetings. This is what we do when we're making sausage.
Yeah.
Nothing, sir.
Thank you, sir. County Manager, just in case I don't cross paths with you, could you, at your earliest convenience, let the cities know that the public hearing has been bumped from October 19th to November 23rd regarding the county home fund concept?
Yes, sir. That's on my things to do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. With that, we are adjourned.